Victoria Alonso used to bring homemade sugar cookies to Kevin Feige's creative meetings, not because she was Marvel's grandma or anything, but to cheer people up after watching another writer get their soul torn out. That's not me being dramatic about this. That's from Beau DeMayo, the guy who sat in those rooms, and what he just exposed about Marvel's creative slaughterhouse makes every MCU box office failure look inevitable. Beau DeMayo says pitching to Kevin Feige and Lou D'Esposito is like walking into a firing squad with a smile. You bring passion, you bring lore, you bring fan service people actually want, and they shoot it down because Lou isn't a big comic guy. When DeMayo pitched tying Blade into WandaVision, the Darkhold, and the multiverse, a slam dunk for fans, Lou killed it as too comic book. Let that sink in. The executive producer of comic book movies thinks comic book ideas are too comic book. Meanwhile, Victoria Alonso was walking in with sugar cookies like a prison warden, handing out cupcakes after roll call. That's not leadership. That's Stockholm Syndrome with a sweet tooth. Basically, it doesn't matter how true it is to the character. It doesn't matter how much fans will like it. If it has anything comic book to it, it's not fit for the MCU anymore. I wonder why nothing's really working.
Because it's not about making a quality product. It's about making an assembly line and everybody in the creative process being the drones that just assemble the widgets that go out the door. It's not about taking risks. It's not about, it's not about creativity. It's not about pleasing the customer, which is mind-boggling to me.
And this really does explain like all the issues and complaints that have been piling up by MCU and Marvel fans over the years about the MCU post-Endgame, that it has no direction. It doesn't really feel authentic to the characters. They're going out and grabbing the worst characters with the worst stories. They're not really adapting great comic book stories anymore because it's all falling at the feet of Kevin Feige and Lou D'Esposito because they have no interest in actually making comic book movies anymore.
This is why I'm glad that Fantastic Four flopped. You can tell me it's a good movie all you want. I don't care. I want the hubris of these two men punished. I want the hubris of Hollywood punished. I want this to be a situation where it's like, how many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man? Like these egos are out of control. You need to be humble and you need to work on these things and recognize that you are working on properties that have endured over time because they've had creatives pour their heart and soul into them and make them good, make them resonate with people. And you in Hollywood, you don't know how to do that because you don't know how to connect with anybody who's not in your little bubble. Kevin Feige talks about, the Marvel's always been the world outside your window. Well, that's fine, but what window is it? Because if it's Kevin Feige's window, it's just the window of Hollywood, the window out into Los Angeles. That doesn't resonate with the rest of the country. It doesn't resonate with the rest of the world. So if that's the world outside his window that he's pushing into the films, it's no wonder these films are becoming more and more niche and they're not making money. It's because you have lost your connection to the humanity that unites audiences, the shared experience where they can go to a movie and they can watch it and they can identify with it. I used this example before, but Into the Spider-Verse. I never really had any interest in Miles Morales in the comic books. I read it, he was fine, but I never really got into him. I really liked him in Into the Spider-Verse. They made me identify and empathize with this kid that, it's like, I don't know what it's like to be a black teenager in Brooklyn. They managed to take that character and make him matter to me in a way that he never had before. And these are the kind of people that get fired and get bounced around, get treated like shit in meetings by Feige and D'Esposito. And apparently it's what Beau DeMayo went through.
Well, and he's got a smoking gun. The grand creative mandate from Marvel's big genius, Kevin Feige, is make sure it's fun. That's it. No vision, no arcs, no depth, just fun TM. The corporate kind where every edge gets sanded down until it's as bland as Disney Plus originals. Directors pitch unique ideas. The Feige filter strips out the personality, and what comes out the other side is a bland, interchangeable sludge. Fantastic Four, the Eternals, the Marvels, it's the same factory line, and the guy in the ball cap is signing every inspection slip. There's no collaborating in these meetings, just dictating Kevin's thoughts back to him like a court stenographer.
I mean, that sounds right. That sounds like so many people that I've dealt with in the industry where it's like, yeah, you go into this meeting and if you want to get anything done, you have to convince them that your idea is their idea or it's not going anywhere. And apparently you can't do that with Feige. Apparently it has to be his idea, but he's a man without any ideas. And you see it when he's on the red carpet. You see it when he talks. You see it in his dead-eyed stare. The guy is basically an android, and no wonder he's just running a program.
Well, and you can certainly see it in the movies, ever since people laughed and thought Guardians of the Galaxy was fun. We've gotten this really stupid, dumbed down, kindergarten level baby humor that has permeated throughout every single Marvel production since then. The MCU style humor is the biggest turnoff, I think, in entertainment today.
You can't just imitate what James Gunn does. Like, he does what he does and he does it well. And then when you try and imitate it, you bring in guys like Taika Waititi and you just let him go nuts. Just make it fun. That's how you end up with sludge like Love and Thunder.
But all of the MCU movies had their own unique genre and flavor to them. And now they all taste the exact same. That's why nothing stands out. That's why people don't show up anymore, because when you go to an MCU movie, you know exactly what you're getting from the moment that you get there. There's no surprises. There's no edge to it. It's all just kind of dumbed down, I guess, to Feige's taste or version of fun.
The films have no gravitas anymore. There's nothing that really matters. Nothing has any weight because it's all just fun and games. And to be honest, they're not that fun. The MCU movies are not that fun anymore.
Yeah, because they're all the exact same. They're all rinse and repeat and deliver the exact same type of movie with the same type of dialogue, with the same type of performances over and over again. And they forgot, hey, maybe we should have different genres. Maybe we should have different stakes going on in the movies. And they become so interchangeable, there's no reason to actually go out there and check one out.
And that's where the MCU succeeded at the beginning, was because you would get a Winter Soldier that was basically a spy thriller. It didn't have a lot of jokes in it. You'd get the Guardians, which was very funny, very humor based, but those are weird characters. You're going into space and you're doing some weird things, and you could have done a little bit of that in Ant-Man because the quantum realm, it's weird and it's wacky and et cetera, et cetera. But at the end of the day, like, the story still has to matter. The villain has to not be easily defeated if you want to set him up as the big bad, and there has to be stakes. And that's something that, I'm trying to walk the line with, even with Kneel Before Doomface. It's hard. It's a comedy, but there are actual stakes. Like, there's character moments that matter.
And another reason that this is all happening, the big kicker, is DeMayo says Marvel makes it clear that every good thought that ever came out of the MCU came from Kevin Feige himself. If you succeed without him, you're a problem. That's why James Gunn is running DC now. Why the Russo brothers left after Endgame. When X-Men 97 blew up, Feige was annoyed it was being compared favorably to the MCU because Brad Winderbaum greenlit it without it. DeMayo tried to bring in Marvel legends like Chris Claremont and Joe Mad. It was blocked. Marvel executive Dana Vasquez-Eberhardt even called the original animated creators meant to be seen and not heard for fan appeasement. Translation, play by the Feige rules or get out. And the ones who stay, they make the kind of movies that lose tens of millions of dollars and get buried by their own fans. And it's almost like Kevin Feige and maybe Dana Vasquez-Eberhardt and Lou D'Esposito don't even realize that Chris Claremont is the reason that you have an X-Men movie universe that you're trying to get off the ground. Chris Claremont is the reason that an X-Men 97 cartoon exists. Chris Claremont is the reason that the original X-Men cartoon, blew up and you got all those video games and stuff like that. This is literally the dude that drew up the blueprints for the X-Men franchise. And you're like, yeah, we don't want to bring them in to see what you're doing on our animated show, as if it would be a big deal. And it's not like Chris Claremont doesn't have an ongoing contract with Marvel Comics themselves. That kind of stupidity and willful ignorance and hubris that somehow he's more important to X-Men than Chris Claremont really does chap my ass.
This is what Hollywood is, and this is what Doc, when Doc coined the phrase cultural locusts, this is what they are. Animation is looked down on with live action Hollywood, and comic books is an even lower form. Even though that's what they were mining, they're basically going in and strip mining it to make these billion-dollar movies. It becomes, aren't I a genius because I took this garbage and I elevated it through my genius? That's the Hollywood live action attitude. And that's the attitude that we're clearly getting from Feige and Marvel. But you know what? Those chickens have come home to roost. He's the emperor without any clothes. We see him now for what he is. He's standing there naked and afraid after 3 flops so far this year, after a string of flops since Endgame. He can't get his footing because he doesn't know what he's doing. He's been completely exposed. And so he's going to go out there and he's going to try anything he can to save face and to blame it on everybody else. Oh, it was Bob Chapek. Oh, it was these things, these pressures that we were under and these things that were being asked of us. It's no, you just have an ego, an undeserved ego, and you're not a creative person. You don't know what you're doing.
If you would like the entire conversation and the entire Geek Fix, because this is just 20 minutes of an entire podcast live right now on Patreon and channel memberships, you do need to sign up. There's a link in the video description. We do hope to see you very, very soon.